Derivatives trading involves substantial risk of loss and is not suitable for all investors. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results.
So stressful when the world's on fire. Good God. I can't look at this, guys. Like, my strategy is you buy it and you hope that you got a good spot. Yeah, but we all think you're crazy. You don't fight this. No way. The markets are freaking out and you don't think that anything is wrong? Come back tomorrow and I'll lose it all. Should be fun.
Good morning, everybody. Got caught. I thought I had time to take a drink of water. Did not have time. Now I feel silly. Well, hold on a second. So, we got the Treasury's kind of doing the same thing that it did yesterday. They're heading down. You can see already, like, what, 5-6 ticks since they opened up, trending down. Let's come back and look at what they did yesterday, because that was all kind of a little weird, to be honest with you. So here was ZN yesterday. They started out on the downside and then very, very strong reversal, and they ended the session higher, significantly higher. And now here this morning, it's kind of doing the same thing. It's on the open, it's selling. It's actually, I'd say it's selling harder than it did yesterday. Here's the S&P 500. S&P 500 took a little bit of a tumble on the open and like just really never recovered in the lower overnight. So again, we're looking at some capital coming out of the markets, like the Federal Reserve is kind of tightening things, and the Treasury is going to be issuing more issuance. This is not good for the equity markets. We got gold and silver. They're not higher, but they're kind of holding their own. Copper lower. Copper is lower. Oil is lower. Bitcoin is lower. There's Bitcoin retracing that big jump they had over the weekend. And the dollar slightly higher. So everything that I'm seeing at the moment kind of is screaming risk off. So I'm kind of wondering, did I make a mistake? Did I miss something yesterday? I don't know. Some of that action seems a little weird. I don't know why it reversed. We're still somewhat light on the news. Let's hear. Feds Collins and Bowman speak in 30 minutes or so, 20-30 minutes. We're about to get Canadian GDP numbers. We do have Chicago PMI and a bunch of Fed speakers later after this stream, and then the Fed Beige Book. So, Beige Book. So, I don't know. And it is the last day of the month, too. Oh, it's my birthday. I guess it's my birthday today. That's cool. I don't know. I've got a lot of stuff swirling through my head right now. A lot of stuff about the market, a lot of stuff about other things. I had that guy come into our stream the other day that he was asking me about Vinny, and I've never met the guy before, and I really didn't get any information from him either. He didn't tell me anything, but like now I'm like trying to sort back through my memory and figure out what that's all about, what's going on there. And there's weird stuff going on with one of my son's friends. I'm just like, man, I'm ADHD, so like it'll turn in like when something doesn't make sense, it'll not that it's like doesn't make sense, but it's like I detected an error or something like that, so it's like something is amiss here. It's just I can't get over it, just keep coming back to it over and over again. trying to figure out what's going on there, hypothesizing, etc., etc. So it's going to be really hard for me to focus today. Okay, here comes the Canadian GDP numbers. Higher than forecast. So the annualized number is 3.1%, which is higher than the expected 2.5. But month over month, it's 0 versus an expected negative 0.1. But also, the liquidity here in the treasury is pretty thick. And the yields seem to be responding strongly to it. Now, hold on. Isn't... oh, yeah, because we're up. We were up yesterday. You know, before we were at like 375. Treasuries moved up. Gotcha. And this is just showing me like overnight stuff, huh? Let's see here. Anthony Crudeli, as we conclude the month of May in ESF, we're pretty much right where we opened the month, and I'm not surprised by this. Typically, the last day of the month usually indicates a choppy last day of trading. Be picky with your looks. Yeah, well, it can be really choppy in equities, at least. The treasuries have a tendency to buy, but they're selling on the open, and I would say that the flows that we're getting selling here on the open are quite strong. Goldman sees bond basis trades climbing beyond 2018-2019 levels. It's just straight sell, man. Now, for us in the yields, I guess the other thing we got to consider is the rollover and everything, right? Because the spread in the 10-year is wider than it usually is. Yeah. In fact, seems to be suggesting to me that I should switch over to the new contract. So let's do that. Let's switch over to M. Okay, well, even though the spread is a little bit tighter over here, there hasn't been a lot of volume on this one, has there? TradeWeb confirms purchase of Australian bond trading platform Yield Broker. Dude, the bond industry is seeing all sorts of crazy stuff, and we're just kind of like have no clue what's going on about it because it doesn't really, you know, not very many retail traders like directly buy bonds, but it looks like that this market is like shifting a lot in that respect. The way that the electronic trading happens in the actual cash bonds is changing. There's a big iceberg there at 08. Is it just me, or is the liquidity in ZB not look right? Oh, you know what? I must not have switched this one over. Yeah. That looks better. ZBU. U. MMMMM. Oh, we got to do it over here too. ZBU. Oops. The NU. I changed them all to the bond. That's funny. Good morning, Steven. Did you sort out the thing with the cumulative delta you were looking at yesterday? 'Cause I remember something weird about that. Okay, let's see here. ZBNU, ZNU, ZFU, ZBU, ZNU, ZFU. Okay. That's much better. Did I not have that set up yesterday? That might have made some of my might help explain why some of the order flow seemed a little weird to me yesterday. Because I was only seeing it in ZN. So let me come in here and check who you were talking about. So if I load up ZN here on a 5-minute chart. And I add the indicator. Advanced cumulative delta. Okay. And then with those current settings, I should only get the new live data. That's correct. But I do believe that if I come in and I turn on tick replay, that I should be able to see, oh, maybe. What? There was... Okay, so what was the deal with that? Not yet. No, I'm having the same thing. What was the deal? Maybe I have something about it in my documentation. No, that's not right. Well, so it should work on live data, right? So this is a kind of the whole thing is that like the advanced cumulative delta is doing a more advanced matching algorithm, but I would not bother using it unless you're using an instrument that has a wide spread, right? So if you're trying to watch the order flow on stocks, which is what it was really designed for, then it's useful. But like in ZN, it's pointless because the Lee ready is fine. But once you have a spread and you'll see an order go off in the middle, you know, was it a bid or an offer? It's kind of hard to tell. And so there's this complicated way of figuring that out. And that's what the advanced cumulative delta is about. I can't remember what the deal is with it. Maybe it just doesn't work with tick replay. Let me see. Oh, you're right. It looks like I have it programmed to just straight up not work in tick replay, actually. Wow, so we traded 19,000 and 16,000 at 08 while I've been sitting here changing everything, and they're still selling. Like, wow. Wowzer. And then it works. So why do I have that in there? I'm going to have to go back through my emails and stuff when I was talking to the DX guys and figure out why I did that. It looks like I have something programmed into it that it essentially prevents it from use. If the state is not real time, it skips it. So, but you'll see here on ZN, if I just add, so I have another cumulative delta. It's called cumulative delta 2 here. I add that one. They should be almost exactly the same. Oh, actually a little bit different. Let's see here. How big of a difference is that? Should be less than 5%, but 8277 divided by 81898. 2% difference. But when you're talking, when you're using a stock, could be the difference could be more than that, and then the advanced cumulative delta is useful. Yes, it was designed for instruments with bigger spreads. So to be more specific, if to really dive deep into this, and I talk about it in the DX feed video, but basically, how do you cumulative delta is an order flow indicator. What do we mean by order flow? Order flow is market data informed by the market depth. Okay, so normally you just get volume and it says there was volume at this price. Okay, well, who was the aggressor in that order? Was the market order a buy or a sell? Well, the way that we determine that is by looking at the current best bid, best offer, right? So if the best offer is 08 and I see volume go off at 08, then I can tell that volume was market buy volume, right? Okay. But what if we have this huge spread? Like over here in the 2-year, we have this huge spread. The best offer is 4302, best bid is 4286, and I see orders go off at like 4295 in the middle of them, right? Was that a buy or a sell? Well, it's kind of hard to tell because if there wasn't any liquidity there at the time, then was the liquidity buy or sell? You don't know which side came up, right? And the issue that you'll get is that the data that gives you the depth of market is not sync up completely with the data that is giving you the market orders, essentially the matches, right? And so what you have to do is you have to be able to look at, okay, so if I saw volume go off at 4.3, I don't know if there was a bid or an ask there. But what I can do is I can look back through the past level 2 changes, and if in the recent past there was a level 2 change at that price where there was an order there and it decreased, then I know that, oh, okay, I got the level 2 update before I got the market update, and that's how I wasn't able to tell which side it was. Does that make sense? I feel like I kind of started to twist over my words there. So because the feeds don't match up, what I have to do is I have to create a window around that time and look for the corresponding level 2 change that corresponded with that liquidity getting taken out and match it up, right? So in an instrument with a wide spread, and particularly in stocks, that happens a lot. And so having a more advanced algorithm that uses that window to try and categorize the volume can make a difference. Can make a difference of like 10% actually. So yeah. So if you're not trading an instrument with a big spread, it doesn't matter. I'm not suggesting, but if these current lows around 95 break, and yes, we may get a hiccup back around 86, but 72 could be a possibility. I'm really curious what's going on in the treasuries here this morning, man, because that is a lot of sell volume, man. It's about 12k orders net sell in ZN, and probably more than that. I mean, there was a big buy in here somewhere. I mean, look at that. That's like 40,000 contracts traded hands at 08 and 07 half. That is a lot. So I don't think that I can really comfortably get in here and make a prediction about which way the flow is going to be. I'm still kind of leaning towards the sell side, not because it started out selling, but because I think longer term you're going to see selling. But there's something wild going on at the beginning of this contract that we're not privy to. Yeah, watching first. I mean, you can see it, some similar kind of oddities going on in ESO, right? Like there is a reasonably large iceberg bid at 141.95. 41.95. Hmm. Hmm. So there was like a little bit of an extension lower, like they pushed it down. A lot of volume traded down in there too. 07, 06 half. There's about 10,000 contracts traded hands down there, but it has bounced back into the 07 half 08 area. So there is very clearly a liquidity hole here. Oh my gosh. So I saw this thing. Okay. So apparently this is actually a big deal. But it's like a teeny tiny detail that a lot of people missed yesterday, and Zero Hedge pointed it out, and I think it's a big deal. So apparently in the bill that is going through Congress, the deal that they made to avoid the debt ceiling, there is a small little statement in there that basically ends student loan forbearance. That, right, people haven't had to pay their student loans for like 2 or 3 years or whatever, and this change, it, removes their ability to extend that forbearance. Essentially, it doesn't address Joe Biden's larger student debt forgiveness scheme. I do think the Supreme Court will strike that one down, although I think there's an issue of standing. There's kind of this weird thing with the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court has declined to intervene in this kind of a situation before. Like if the executive does something and it's against the laws that Congress put in place, you'd think, oh, okay, so Congress can sue to do something about that. And they have not ruled that way in the past. I would think that if it was like McCarthy or, like the Senate themselves, quote unquote, sued, that they should have standing. But I don't know if that's ever actually happened. But like individual members of Congress apparently don't have standing to challenge an executive order like that. But it's a very conservative court right now, and there are some justices that have kind of, made some comments that kind of suggest that they want to end that sort of a thing to be able to rein in executive power, right? So probably the student loan thing does get struck down by the courts at some point, okay? But here's the thing that was interesting about it. Student loans represent 7% of US GDP. So you come back into all of these things, we've had this economy that, like, despite rising rates and all of the other challenges that we've had, like, the consumer keeps spending, and or even as people are adding like tons of credit card debt and everything, how is this all happening? Doesn't make any sense. Well, it's because 7% of GDP that normally would be going into paying debt has been able to be redirected into discretionary spending for the last 2 years. That's what it is. It's probably a significant factor to inflation as well. I mean, we've discussed that before, that it's like a 1% of inflation or something like that. I thought it was voted down. No. So the big question yesterday was there's the Rules Committee, and there were 2 Republicans on the Rules Committee that came out very strongly against the deal. And people were unsure what the third guy was going to do. He's kind of a libertarian. And, you know, he had said things in the past that he wasn't going to use his power to do something like that. But he basically came out and said, "Oh, we're gonna let it through." So I believe, I don't know if they already voted on it, but it should get through the Rules Committee. And then once you get through the Rules Committee, assuming that Democrats stay united, which I think they probably will be, it will go through, because there will be enough, the combination of Republicans and Democrats, to get it through. Now, the thing that's going to be interesting about it is that the House Freedom Caucus is very upset about the deal. And they're going to vote no, the House Freedom Caucus. That's not going to prevent the bill from going through, but they're going to vote no. So there could be some fallout from this. In particular, this is exactly the scenario that the House Freedom Caucus created this, rule change so that they can challenge the speaker and so forth. I don't know if they can do it before McCarthy pushes the law through, but they might remove McCarthy as speaker. There's a possibility here. Kind of crazy, right? Still lots of volume going off at 07.5, man. Of course there's a liquidity hole there, and we would expect it to kind of get stuck there and everything. But that was a lot of volume that traded there in that area so quickly. I mean, look, now at 07.5 alone, it's 40K, and 08 it's 24. So 65,000 contracts traded hands at 07.5 and 08. I don't think that I can attribute that just to a liquidity hole. I think that a large buyer came in. I think that there was a huge collision there. I think there was a huge collision there, which makes me weary about, trying to go short here on trend continuation. I'm not so sure. Politico, top story, debt ceiling deal could fuel Biden's economy problems. Another congressional headline today. Utah Republican Chris Stewart, that's my guy. I'm in his district. Plans to resign from House. So during the time period that he is gone, that makes the Republican majority even thinner. Not that they're going to do any kind of anything important. I mean, like, really, with this debt deal, it basically means that Congress is a lame duck Congress until 2025, right? So they're not going to do anything. Unless, like, Republicans just absolutely kill it in the next election and then take like a 60% majority in the Senate and stuff. But I doubt that. I'm really wondering if we're gonna get what we had yesterday and it reverses, or if they continue selling it down. I don't know. Perhaps they just met there and exhausted themselves, and that's it. And we don't go much further today. That's another possibility. Either way, I'd say that this is very active for summer trading still. I think the Wall Street Journal had an opinion article on debt stating Social Security, government pensions, and Medicare are not included, and the true debt is 60 trillion, and now add interest. Yeah. I don't remember who it was that was saying this, but like what the fight that we're having over the debt ceiling right now is a little crazy, because entitlements are basically set to fail in the next 10 years. Like Social Security and Medicare won't be able to continue paying out at current rates. They're going to have to adjust the entitlements. They just are. Yeah, we have Fed and FOMC speakers. We'll see. I haven't heard anything from Collins and Bowman yet. I don't know if that one's actually going to be significant. US Chicago PMI could move us. That's probably going to be an interesting data point. Remember, guys, so there's going to be there's always that guy that not watching the stream and they forget. The Chicago PMI comes out 3 minutes early, so at 9:42 you will probably see some volume in the treasuries moving on the release that they got. Yeah, I'll just restate what I said yesterday, which is that we keep blaming Congress. They're not doing anything about it. They're kicking the can down the road, etc., etc. The problem is really with us. Anybody says anything about touching entitlements and people just throw an absolute conniption fit. It is the third rail of politics. Republicans will occasionally say that we need to do something about it, that we need to save Medicare or reform it. I think the term they like to use is we need to save Medicare, right? There are some Republicans that have advocated just completely getting rid of it, though. They're like the small minority, but they are out there, right? There's no way that Congress is going to fix this issue if the American public is so dead set against it. What will happen instead is they'll continue to kick the can until they literally can't anymore, and then something will get shoved down our throats in very much in opposition to what the American public want. Very similar to what happened in France, right? It'll be the exact same thing. They'll pass the law, everybody will throw a fit, and there will be protests and street violence and all this stuff, and it won't change a darn thing, because it's literally just financially impossible to continue the way that they were, right? So if I think that Americans need to start thinking about this more seriously, and start saying to themselves, actually, you know what, maybe we shouldn't just freak out every time they talk about modifying Social Security and Medicare, because otherwise it's going to be a very, very negative thing for the country. I saw this other thing yesterday. I think it was on TikTok, but I think that they were like clipping some debate or something like that. And this guy was saying, I don't care about the debt. I'll take on as much debt as possible if it means saving people or making their lives better or something like that. Oh my gosh, it was so triggering to me, because you are not saving people by creating debt, okay? If you destroy the financial position of the United States, you're going to have, what you're going to do is you're going to create more poverty, more health problems, more pain and suffering, okay? You're actively making the problem worse if you harm the financial position of the United States. So the sooner we get on top of this, the more prosperity we can create, and the better off everybody will be. But apparently some people can't even see past their own nose. You know? What's his number? I can help him out. I don't know who the guy was. Did you know, by the way, so here was another, it just sound like Trump. I don't sound like Trump. That's not something that Trump would say. Right? Trump would take the quick and easy route out, which is like, oh, we're not going to touch your Medicare. I'm not going to touch your Medicare. None of this stuff. He never says anything hard. It's like, let's be honest. Listen, I voted for him. If he was the nominee, I'd probably vote for him again, because I'm not gonna vote for Joe. Okay. But look, he didn't make any of the hard decisions. He didn't. He kind of passed on all the hard decisions. They got their tax reform thing through, which really wasn't Donald Trump. It was really like the guys in the Senate. Like what was the name of the Utah representative? I can't remember. Orrin Hatch. Orrin Hatch worked his whole career basically to get that bill through, right? And then the Democrats ruined it as soon as Trump was out of office. But he didn't make any of the hard decisions. So right now is a time period where we often start to see some larger meta orders get executed in the S&P 500. They could be to the sell side for sure. We can see here that in the treasuries, they have reversed back up a little bit, and that the cumulative delta is net buy now. Anyways, so I heard this other statistic about like government spending and everything that I was like, no, that can't be right. So I looked it up. In fact, I can actually show you here. It's a PDF. I'll just show you the excerpt if you search for it on Google. Percent of Americans on welfare. Okay. Data for TANF and SSI are available for 2020, while data for SNAP is available for 2019. Overall in 2019, 19.5% of the total population received or lived with a family member who received a benefit in any amount from TANF, SNAP, or SSI. Can you believe that? What is TANF, by the way? Temporary assistance for needy families. Isn't that ridiculous? Is it ridiculous? 20%? I'm sorry, but that is a shocking number. That is a shocking number. Welfare programs are generally a positive thing for the country and the economy, because when you have people living on the street, those have social and economic costs that no one player has a strong enough incentive to come in and do anything about. So it's just like everybody pays for it, right? And so that's why governments find it valuable to come in and do things about it, because it helps the country overall in the long run. Okay. But 20%, 20% says to me that we've lost the plot somewhere, man. And it just seems like an impossible problem to solve. Like, Congress is never going to do anything about it, right? Congress is never going to do anything about it. You didn't say anything about the notes live action, did you? While watching the bid. You didn't make. I don't think you can take the victory lap on that one. I want to give the credit when it's due, but I don't know if we can take the victory lap on that one. I don't know. Did you take the trade on it? I'm still sitting here like, that is way more volume than should be trading hands, and it makes me want to just sit out because I don't know what's going on. Like, that's insane, the amount of contracts trading hands. Who is taking the two sides of that? Doesn't really make sense to me. And I mean, well, actually, so we could buy. I'm selling myself short here. I think the buyers are probably like Bank of Japan and so forth, right? Buyer is probably Bank of Japan, because Bank of Japan is concerned about their currency right now. So they've been buying treasuries and kind of keeping their currency afloat. And the selling is probably the basis trade, and speculators speculating that there will be a June rate hike and that rates overall need to be, kind of making a valuation play. But which of those forces is stronger, has more orders, etc.? I don't know. I think in that situation, the best that you can do is help them execute and, scout between 07.5 and 08. But that was a really tight range and everything too. So it's kind of a tough trade. So I think I'm just, maybe we get some more, like after the S&P 500 opens and we see what that's doing, and maybe the treasuries respond to it. But and of course the PMIs. But right now, what I'm seeing is kind of suggesting to me that this is not your kind of action stuff. I was supposed to watch and remember to enter where it did, but I'm goofing around. Yeah, well, you did. We were all noticing the massive amount of absorption there, but I don't think any of us straight up said that we should take it there, right? Yeah. So I'm coming over on my other window to check around the web and see other things for us to talk about. So I loaded up Facebook to check on one thing, and I had some notifications. Oh, somebody posted on my timeline. Who would post on my timeline? That's kind of weird. Oh, it's my birthday today. Yes, of course. So they're wishing me happy birthday. But then I look at the time. Brad, he's a guy that he's been in local government around here. Fred posted on my timeline happy birthday 5 hours ago. It is now 7:15. So Fred, why are you posting happy birthday to people at 2 a.m. in the morning? Go to sleep, man. Go to sleep. Yeah, thanks. I don't know if I always kind of feel awkward about, you know, making a big deal out of the birthdays, but whatever. I should have had a party. Ishmael, of course I remember you. Of course I remember you. Hope you're doing well. Yeah, we've been doing well. You know, like we had a tough time in March, but then since then we've been doing pretty good. So it's always really interesting to me to watch the evolution of like who watches and everything, because, you know, like, look, there's other streamers out there, you know, that, not like I have anything against them or anything, but I can't sit and watch these guys trade for 2 hours or whatever. Like the other day I was like, well, what is it that Matt does that makes his stream as popular as it is? And you know, I loaded up a stream or whatever. He delists them now, so you have to like save. You have to like save the video, the video URL. Okay, but like I watched like 5 minutes of it, and I was like, how does anybody stand doing this? There's nothing. It's not interesting. You know, so to me, I totally understand if you're new, you're learning about trading, come in. There's a lot you can gain from this stream. A lot, you know, because most people, they come in and they learn about like smart money concepts, and then everything, all of the models in their heads and their views of the market are premised on this conspiracy theory that the smart money concepts people make up, right? And so when you're trying to explain order flow to them, and you're trying to explain it, particularly the informational content of orders, right? Like, it's so foreign to them. You have to unlearn what you've learned. Whereas if you come into this stream from the beginning, you can learn good information right from the start. And then when you come across information that is BS and isn't backed by empirical evidence, you can just ignore it, right? So I would expect people to come into the stream and watch, but not always, unless like we really get along, you know, like Uzi, he's in here almost every day. We really get along, you know. So of course I would expect to see a change in who views it over time, and it's just really fascinating for me to watch. I wish that I had the ability to like remember and know everything about every person that comes into the stream and watches, but of course that's a little unrealistic. But because to me, the real advantage of doing the stream is the community that we build around it. Otherwise it'd be kind of dumb. Like, I've gotten, especially that Vinny thing that kind of came up yesterday, I've gotten so much freaking harassment from that guy, just for streaming my trading. Like, that's all I ever did. I've never made any kind of performance claims or anything like that. I just come in, I stream my trading. We have affiliate links for services that I use, and that's it. And I get, like, you know, all of this harassment, a whole week's worth of videos about me and things like that. You know, it wouldn't be worth it unless we had a good community coming out of it, right? Oh, you got busy with finals? Well, be careful, because remember that summer trading is kind of different. What we're seeing here today in the treasuries is, I think the thing that is like really weirding me out about it is that it's summer. I mean, it's the last day of May, so like, I don't know. It's not technically summer, you know? Like, I'm sure it's probably going to be worse when we get into June. Like, especially after that June non-farms, then things probably quiet down a lot, right? But man, this is so much volume. Maybe some of this is just, you know, last day of month flows. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. So, I was kind of being so you probably missed this because you were gone yesterday, Uzi, but there apparently Vinny has like started another court case and he's suing some guy that I've literally never heard of before. And I was trying to find out who he was and what that was all about. And he came into the stream yesterday. So I talked to him, but I didn't get any information. So I'm still like completely clueless about what that whole thing is all about. But like, I think that might be related to the ICT thing. I mean, I don't know because I didn't hear anything about him, but I suspect that guy might have been like a supporter of ICT, something like that. So like, and the thing is that court case is like, yeah, it is so extra. Like, seriously, Netflix, when you come in and you do the documentary, I'm not doing it unless you pay me a ton of money to make all of this drama worth it. Because this is like really ridiculous Netflix documentary type bullshit, right? And I feel bad for the guy because I mean, of course I don't know anything about I don't even know what the complaint is. Maybe Vinny has a legitimate complaint against him. I don't know, but like, it's so insane to me that you can run such an unreputable business, because really at this point Vinny's reputation is just completely trashed, right? And then you just run around and start suing everybody. And then people have to spend money to defend themselves against baseless accusations, Yeah. You'd think assuming you have figuring out trading would be enough. Yeah, if he was as successful as he tries to portray himself, then you wouldn't be running around creating drama and like trying to sue people and all this kind of nonsense. So would you? You would just trade and keep to yourself, which is what I want to do. And I don't know. So that's the thing is so now I'm sitting here thinking about it, and the problem is I don't know anything, so your mind just goes wild with what are all of the possibilities of what's going on here. I mean, it probably has nothing to do with me, so there's really no reason for me to be preoccupied or think about it, but I can't help it. It's the cost of doing business, but some of these people aren't doing business, man. So you're just you're just doing your own thing, minding your own business. Yeah, so can I tell you something else that happened? I think it's okay for me to tell you about this. So Spencer Cornelia is a YouTube channel that really blew up because he was exposing scammers and stuff. He was kind of like CoffeeZilla was the one that was really like exposed people, right? And Spencer Cornelia kind of was like following on his heels to some extent, and that was kind of helped make his channel successful. Spencer posted a video last week about a court case that he's been involved in because he pointed out the I don't think that he like outright said that this guy was involved in fraud, but he gave a service a bad review, right? So they sued Spencer, right? So this kind of gets into anti-SLAPP laws, which is let's see here, what does SLAPP stand for? It's like frivolous lawsuits to dissuade people from participating in public discourse. That's what SLAPP is, right? So Spencer went and got like the best anti-SLAPP lawyer in the country, and is literally, and he talks about this in his video, literally spent hundreds of thousands on this court case. And it hasn't even gotten to the point of like them trying to have the court dismiss it and everything like that. Like, hasn't even gone to trial or anything yet. And he spent like $100,000 on it. Can you believe that? For making a YouTube video. So like, I had mentioned this other, so I wanted to know what he thought about the Vinny versus Day Trader Paradise court case. And to my surprise, I was actually finally able to find an email for Spencer and email him, and he responded. But the basic sense that I got from Spencer, I mean, like he thought the court case was interesting and everything, but and I think he thought that I was saying, oh, you should make a video about this, right? And he was basically talking about like how it's not worth it to make content like that because the scammers will just sue people, and it's so expensive to fight that it's just not worth it. Like, you're talking about, you know, Spencer Cornelia has a huge YouTube channel that's probably making millions of dollars at this point, right? But he's paying 100K, and anybody that's, you know, that you're talking about, if I were to make a video of that nature, you know, and you're making like maybe $200 a month from YouTube advertising, right? And then somebody comes in and sues you, you have to pay hundreds of thousands of dollars to defend yourselves. It's crazy. It's great. That's absolutely nuts. I had cases that would cost far more legally than just paying off the extortion. I don't know. I think that sometimes what happens though is you try and extort the wrong person. Right. What are the requirements to build a cross-matching engine like the CMEs with the centralized continuous limit order book? What are the hardware and software requirements? Wow. Well, so I think that like the most basic kind of this is actually you actually asked a really interesting question, because the something that you and I can both submit an order to and it matches correctly, really simple. Writing a matching engine is not that complicated of a thing. It's a thing that you could set up in a week, right? Setting up a system that can handle like trillions of orders, very difficult. Like the infrastructure around that is a really complicated thing. That's why you get all of these things like Coinbase and the other cryptocurrency exchanges. You know, they've had issues where when Bitcoin volumes start to get even reasonably high, the exchanges have to shut down and things like that. It's because it's very easy to get into the exchange business, but it's very difficult to do the exchange properly and to be able to handle the volume of being a primary exchange for a market, right? And so when you get into like running a real exchange hardware wise, that's when you're talking about making a whole data center and all that kind of crazy stuff, right? Oh yeah. In a system like that, you would want like distributed systems so that you could adjust your computing resources according to which markets needed them the most, right? And then there's all of the things like the data connectivity and stuff. Like you're starting to talk about stuff that's over my head. I don't know how to design a computing center, you know. I know how to monitor and keep my applications running in said data center going. Are we going to trade? I don't know, man. I'm still a little weary about this market, to be honest with you. I guess we could say that we are trading because I am keeping an eye on it and everything, but I don't know if I'm actually going to enter a trade. I don't know if I'm going to enter a position. S&P 500 seeing a bit of selling on the open and some icebergs popping it up. Anyways, when we get into things like that, like especially when something's going on and you know, I know enough about what's going on to like theorize, but I don't really know what's going on. Sometimes I can become so fixated on it. So another thing that I'm fixated on this morning, man. Oh my gosh. This is so weird. I don't know if I should tell you this story, but I'm going to tell you this story, okay? But keep it shh. Okay? Don't tell anybody. Think we should bid the notes? Well, let's keep watching it for a little bit. I'm still a little uncertain about the flows. Like, when I see two big guys collide, that's a good indication for me to not get involved. Okay, so here's my story. My wife is like, oh, so we have a question about some situation. Like, oh crap, what did you guys do? Okay, well, so apparently one of my son's friends says that they were kicked out of the house. I'm like, oh, they were kicked out of the house? They're 16. They got kicked out of the house? Okay, so like I start doing some research and everything like that, and I'm already kind of like, because here's the thing, you can't just kick a kid out of the house, actually, right? So if you just kick, they're 16 and they're kicked out of the house, and they're not emancipated. Like, that's child abandonment, right? So, like, what's going on there, right? Okay, well, so anyways, they come over the other day, right? And this kid, she's 16, so this kid comes over in her own car, and it's like a brand new Nissan. Like I've never seen this kind of a car before. It's like, it was like a Nissan version of a PT Cruiser or something, or like a Saab, you know, kind of like a teeny tiny car with like a really, really huge interior sort of a thing. And it has like a custom license plate. So I'm sitting here like, so your parents kick you out of the house, but they're also willing to buy you a brand new car? What? And then like we're having dinner, and she's like, oh, I'm not too hungry, you know, because of my chemotherapy drugs. You know, I'm not losing too much hair from it though, because you know, they say that these drugs, you don't lose as much hair with it, but I have been losing some hair, and I'm like, so like and I woke up, and you know, I was just like, oh, that's kind of interesting that she says she has cancer, and this whole thing is kind of weird. I don't really think anything about it. And then like I woke up like 2 hours early, and like the thought just comes into my head. It's like, she's full of shit. Like, that's not how chemotherapy drugs work, is it? It's the thing that makes you lose the hair is the radiation. And doesn't matter which chemotherapy drugs you're taking, you're going to lose hair. And if you've been doing it for 6 to 9 months, you're not going to have any hair. So I don't think you're being honest with me. Everything else, am I crazy? I don't know if I should have told you guys that story, but I can't help it. Like I need somebody else to, like, you know, tell me if I'm being crazy or not. It seems suspicious, doesn't it? Yo, middle class. Do you think she's lying, Uzi? Yeah, they are. Yes. Ishmael, I agree, Uzi. So yeah, what parent kicks out their child with cancer and a new car? Yeah. Right? This is crazy. Like, here's the thing. All of his friends come from like the LGBT club. So like, he hasn't said that he's gay or anything, nor has he done anything that shows himself to be gay. And like, the funny thing is, I've told you this before, but like, he brings girls over to the house, and all of the people that he brings over are girls, right? So what's happening is he's like the trans men. He's dating the trans men is basically what's happening. So, you know, I know that they kind of come from that group, and they all think that they're polyamorous too. So what actually happened was he has a girlfriend that's trans man, and his girlfriend has a girlfriend, and so she introduced them, and so now she's coming over. Bored privileged kids trying to spice up their lives by footsing with their sexual identities could be. This is something that kind of comes to my mind just about every day, is that I do see across the board that because people don't have enough going on in their lives, and well, it's not even just that they don't have enough going on in their lives, but that they don't have enough drama in their lives that they invent it, right? Like, your brain is wired to look for threats, and so if there aren't threats, they make them up. Yeah, you think that it's similar to? I think it's maybe a little bit different from that, to be honest with you, because I don't think that there was anybody like encouraging people to be goth. Like, that's the thing, is that I'm seeing this cultural push that to actually encourage kids to do it, which is a little alarming to me. Yeah, and social media like really screws people up. You got to be careful when talking about this, because you know it's a sensitive subject, right? But I see some problems there. I do. Kids are raised by algorithms. What do you freaking do about it, man? It seems like there's no way to get away from it. There's no way to get away from it, and people are like, everybody, and I mean all of us, are just lack so little self-awareness that when it's driving our behavior, we just don't see it, even if you warn them about it, you know. It's a sensitive topic because the entire thing, well, I mean, I can talk about the research on that subject, for instance, right? But if I was going to talk about the research on that, I probably would need to like have all of my references and stuff ready for it, right? It's going to defend myself against the online hordes. Oh, for sure. Oh man, Ishmael. So if you, I don't know how you would find it, but I've seen people share files on Discord many times. In fact, I bet you there's probably some guys here on the stream right now that are on Sierra charts that would share their templates with you. So I would ask on Discord. Go on Discord and ask if, you know, like maybe in main chat or in platforms. Actually, yeah, it should start a thread in platforms and brokers. Yeah. So in the I created a forum on Discord called Platforms and Brokers. So just go in there and create a new post about Sierra charts and ask if they have templates. Well, yeah, especially since like the research really doesn't suggest that. Oh, Octavius will give it to you. Yeah, he's on Discord. But we should start a thread in the Platforms and Brokers, because then it will be there forever so that anybody else can get it too. And you should be able to like attach the file. The thing that weirds me out about all of these sorts of things is that like there is cultural pushes, right? Like there oh my, okay, so that was PMI, and they bought off of PMI really hard. The expectation was 47.2. That's not a good number. Was it worse than 47.2? That was a lot of volume on that too. You say it's do you have statistics that back that up? I'm sure it is in religious high incoming. I was told, I wish I knew where they got this stuff from, but I saw this guy saying that like teenagers are like literally programmed to ignore their parents. Yeah, no, Chicago PMI gets released to subscribers 3 minutes early, remember. Well, okay. Is it in a religious high? So I don't think that I necessarily live in a high income community. I think that I live in a middle class community, but it is a religious community, yes. And there are some areas of the community that are high class. So I think that it applies to us, for sure. But do we have statistical evidence to suggest that happens? Where do you subscribe? So I don't know, actually, to be honest with you. I think I can look that up. Do you consider me middle class? I mean, depending on whose data and definitions you are, I probably qualify as upper middle class. But the reason why I say the area that I live in is middle class is like, yeah, I'm on the border, probably, yeah, because I make 6 figures, right? So that's kind of like the cutoff for a lot of people. But high class is usually considered like above 200, 300K or something like that, and I don't make that much, right? But if you move, if you just go 2 streets down, for instance, those are just middle income people, right? So when it comes to the kids at that school, I would say that the majority of the kids at that school are middle class. Oh, okay. Chicago PMI was 40.4 versus an expected 47.2. Jeez. Anyways, if we had data to suggest that it was more likely to happen in upper income households, that would be really interesting data to me. But like I said, I'm told that like teenagers are kind of programmed to ignore their parents, you know, so that you take risks and go outside of your community, essentially. So like there's this whole thing in society where they're trying to push quote unquote social change. And the issue that I have here is that all of the people that are pushing the quote unquote social change are all of the most unhappy people. Right? Why is it that if everybody accepts and or adapts their lifestyle to you, that all of a sudden everybody will be happy when you're one of the most unhappy people in the society? Right? And frankly, not very successful either. And the reason why I think of it in that way is because I see the same sort of things being said about ADHD, right? So ADHD and autism is a really interesting subject because there are a lot more neurodivergent people out there than people think. It's like 10 to 20%, you know, that's like 1 in 10 people. And you're talking about a group of people that traditionally have not performed very well. Okay. Like people with ADHD tend to make poor choices. Like you're like the risk of teenage pregnancy, if you're ADHD, for instance, is like exponentially higher. It's like, it's crazy. Right. So you have this opportunity, and the thing is that if you accommodate or account for it, and you help people get treatment too, like this is like an easy win. This is where we could make people's lives significantly better if we adjust a couple of things, right? The problem is that the kind of adjustments that I'm often seeing the ADHD people push are stupid, right? Or in autism in particular. Because it's the autistic people that are saying like, oh, if my mental health is not feeling very good that day, I should be able to just get work off whenever I want. Right? That's not going to work, man. If you have to, you take every other day off because of your quote unquote mental health, or you're feeling too stressed because of your demand avoidance syndrome and all this sort of stuff. Like that's just not going to work. Right? But there are some accommodations that we can make, like for instance, trying to teach people to be more specific in their speech, to be more clear in their speech. That would help autistic and ADHD people a lot, right? Make it, get rid of the stigma around having the conditions and make it easier for people to figure out that they have it and get diagnosed so that they can get the resources and medication to help. Those would be things that would, but they don't. They want to push this like, oh, I just shouldn't work. And I'm sitting here like, why should we be taking advice about how to run the society from a group of people that have not been very successful in the society? It just doesn't really match to me, you know? And it's especially when there's not really the empirical evidence to back them up, you know? Like my approach is always, what is the empirical evidence that we have, right? I really don't believe that we have empirical evidence to suggest that we should make the changes that these people are all arguing for, you know? Like I would totally be all in on, okay, well, you've been historically disadvantaged in this and that, but you have this empirical evidence that suggests that this particular thing would help, and it's not. And the kind of like the studies and stuff that I'm seeing people push off of this are like total, like just absolute. It's not science. It's gender activists writing reports and trying to pass it off as science, you know? Like this whole thing that they're having in Congress where the government ran a study on transgender, to find out if medically transitioning helped mental health outcomes. And like during the study, 2 participants killed themselves And so they just excluded those 2 participants from the study. Like, what the actual F? It's so crazy. Oh yeah, so I forgot what we were doing here on Forex Factory. Chicago oh, it's ISM. Okay, so the Chicago PMI is released by ISM, the Institute for Supply Management. And so you can go there and you can get a membership and pay to receive that piece of news 3 minutes early. So that's where you go. And yeah, when it comes out, it's always kind of a little bit weird because the market makes the move before the number comes out and all this stuff. In Morocco, the worst of criminals never go out of the house if they haven't bowed down and kissed their parents' hands. Well, ideally, I'd just make people with conditions more comfortable with seeking help instead they become social contagions. Yes. Well, so I'm not so sure that, like, what would we say, normalizing ADHD is necessarily, like, creates a social contagion per se, because it's still hard to get diagnosed, and we can still, like, actually diagnose it, right? Like, it's pretty hard to get diagnosed with ADHD if you don't actually have it. But especially if you're an adult, or, you know, you're in high school or an adult. Because they, you know, the attitude is, if you really had it, it would have been caught when you were a kid, right? But yeah, I think you have a point that there are certain ideas. So like the whole thing with you know, sexual identities and things like that. Yeah, you know, a lot of the argument that the left makes has to do with, like, moral relativism and stuff. That it's, you know, you people should be allowed. I don't think that the left is necessarily saying that this is the reality, but rather that the way that the society should treat it is that people are allowed to have their own beliefs and their own truth and whatnot. Okay, sure. And then they take it a step further by saying, and, you know, we should respect by, you know, if they think that they're this, that we should all treat them the way that they wanted to be treated or anything, right? And the issue with that is that not everybody in the society has the mental capacity to operate in that fashion responsibly, right? In other words, there are people, and I really think that a lot of it is autistic people, you know, don't catch on to what's really going on, and then it becomes a social contagion. Yeah, then it becomes a social contagion. We don't have proof that that's what it is, but I very strongly suspect that that's what it is. Yes. Well, and I think Jordan Peterson said something about that one time, that he's like, well, you know, you want to be kind to yourself for who you are, but you shouldn't just accept who you are. You should become better, right? He's right. And this whole kind of push to that we've seen culturally has basically been a counter to personal development. Yeah. I see people do that all the time with freaking trading. It's like, listen, first of all, we're all retail traders, okay? We're all basically worse than dirt in the markets, okay? If you make any money out of this, you're lucky, okay? Even the greatest traders are going to have problems making money as a retail trader, okay? So let's just kind of put off all of these delusions that any one of us is somehow special, or that their success was somehow special to give them some authority to speak on what is effective trading and what is not compared to other people, right? So in that situation, you really have to just rely on the empirical data, right? And what often happens in this kind of discussion comes up is so somebody says, well, like I believe in smart money concepts, and then you go and you say, well, this isn't actually how the market works. This is let me show you the evidence and what we know about how large institutions actually do function. And then somebody will come in and will say, well, but there's many different types of trading, and if this works for them, they're no. Either you have the empirical evidence to back up what you're saying, or you don't. And if you don't have the empirical evidence, then shut up, because you're harming people by sharing false information. You're putting, every time that you go out on the internet and you share information about day trading that is not backed up by evidence, you are potentially setting back other traders by years, because then they have to unlearn that false information. And most retail traders never last that long. If you get set back 2 years because, smart money concepts or whatever, that person doesn't keep going after 2 years and then find the real stuff, right? They just quit, right? Just short retail trading. So basically start a prop firm. So that's basically what I feel like those prop firms have become. Short retail trading. No, I don't think that you should look for teachers. I mean, I think I have a really good YouTube channel, but I don't try and hold myself up as some sort of authority, because I don't come up with any of this stuff. All I'm doing is sharing with you guys empirically proven data. So go and watch my order flow series. I talk about all of this stuff, and especially those last few videos about proven market behaviors in the inelastic theory of markets. I show you some solid research that really strongly suggests things about the markets that are, is can be the basis for your trading that most retail traders never figure out. Some really, for somebody that's never traded before, these might not seem like significant revelations, but if you've been in trading before and you've been struggling and you don't know what to believe in everything, then you go and you watch this stuff, all of a sudden it's like, oh, this is like groundbreaking. And it was completely different from what I thought before, and it changes everything for me. It does. And it's empirically backed. It's not because Seth has done it and he's been so, I don't want you, even if I had made $1 billion from it, I wouldn't want you to be making the decision based off of that, because it's harmful to your trading to rely on those kinds of heuristics like other people to make your decisions. You need to make your decisions based on the empirical data, right? I don't know what you do about all these society issues. Like the whole thing is when you're 20, it's like, oh, you come in and you get to have this opportunity to change the world. And then like the reality is that you don't really have a whole lot of power in the society. And nowadays it seems like once you get into like your 30s and 40s, that's when people start to get to a point where they can share their ideas and things like that and affect things. And I feel like I am to that point now, and doesn't really seem like anybody is really interested in listening. And there are so many other problems that because I didn't expect social media to turn out this awful. I didn't expect social media to turn out this awful. What do you do about this? Is there an answer? Here's Jolts. Holy shit. Wow. Okay. They were expecting 9.4 and they got 10.1. At 40 many are into the system. Well, like, yeah, the whole thing is that by the time you get to 40, all of a sudden you realize that none of the problems that really seem to be affecting things are actually solvable. And that like the best that we can do is try and move things in a direction where the next generation can maybe solve them. Except for that, then I look at the next generation and they're involved in all sorts of stupid crap and there's no way they're going to figure it out, you know? So what do you do? Because I can show you my approach to life. I can show you how I approached school and relationships and interactions with other people and business and my own personal ventures. And I'm pretty happy with how I am. Most of the time, the problem that I deal with is that I wanted to do something and then I did it. You know? So what am I going to do next? And what is a goal that's like a good goal that's not so far that you don't achieve it and you lose interest in it, but is actually realistic and stuff. Like that's a problem that I deal with, you know? Most people aren't interested in living the way that I live. They're just not, I could tell you. But it's traditional approach to life and relationships and really, really strict adherence to what you eat and when you go to sleep and things like that. Nobody's interested. What you gonna do? And so then you have all of these people that are unhappy and you're like, well, did you try doing X, Y, and Z? And those are all parts of the patriarchy. Well, okay. If you don't want to do the things that I know can bring you success, then have at it. You're on your own, man. What's happened in the market? Well, the JOLTS job openings, which is a number the market has started to become very sensitive to, but that I am personally very skeptical of, because I don't think that those job openings are like true job openings, was significantly higher than expected. And so as a result, the market sold off really hard. So we had two pieces of data that moved the market very significantly. Now, I think that the trade off of this is probably short ES, but I'm not going to trade ES. In the treasuries, it's a little bit less clear, but like PMIs, that's bad. That's like showing the economy weakening. JOLTS being still high is bad because that means that Federal Reserve is going to continue to be tight. So I think that you could make a pretty good case that the orders in ES are likely to be short. In the treasuries, though, I'm not so sure. They had that insane downtrend, and now they're right back to that where all that volume traded at 07.5. So on the bid and ask, what are the blue and red bars behind the white text of the orders? It's just a histogram showing you how large that the orders at that price level is relative to all of the others. So you can see that the largest amount that we have on the bid anywhere is this 1995 at 114.010, and so that's the one that's completely filled in. Whereas when it's at 285, it's almost completely empty. That's what that's about. Another problem that we have, by the way, we're talking about the society level thing, is that humans are social creatures. I mean, I think that we've kind of destroyed that a little bit in the modern age, and people aren't as connected to their communities and don't realize how social of an animal humans really are. But we have unique and interesting social dynamics. And, we derive a large portion of our identity from our community. which is why, you know, it's very rare that you come across somebody that is like, okay, they're gay or whatever the deal is, and they don't have gay friends, for instance, right? Like you will always come in and build a community around your identity. The reason that we've done that here in day trading is because that community didn't really exist. Like the kind of community that we wanted didn't exist, so we made it, right? If you come along and you just destroy your community and the social systems that you had set up, right? Even if it's well intentioned, the result is usually chaos. So that's the other thing is that we have all these people, they want us to make changes in the society that aren't backed up by evidence, and they don't want to just like modify the society. They want to completely destroy existing power structures, which is likely to just lead to social chaos. Right? So I'm all about, you know, let's make changes, but we need to have really good evidence that those changes are going to work, and we need to have, we need to do it in a smart manner. You ever seen this whole thing, like people, they say like there is really good proof that there actually are aliens, or there's really good proof that there actually were advanced civilizations before the ice age melt, and that the pyramids is actually a power station, or things like that. I mean, these are all kind of conspiracy theories, right? But they claim, well, why would the government try and hide that? Like they find something under the pyramid, and then they won't let the public see what it is. Why is that? Well, I think it's because they're concerned that it could disrupt the societal structures that you have. And you can't just come in, you know, if there was a piece of information that we had that absolutely proved, like we invented time travel, looked back and did time travel and proved that Christ never actually existed, or it didn't happen the way that Christians think that it did, or something like that, right? I don't think that you would just release that information to the public. It would probably cause chaos, you know? Joe Rogan invites some conspiracists like that, and I watched a few seconds of one video, and now YouTube won't leave me alone. Yeah. It's one of those things that I can become preoccupied with it, because I don't believe those conspiracy theories, but there is a mystery there of some sort. What's going on? What actually is in some of those areas of the pyramid that the Egyptian government won't let them go into? I don't know. I'm not sure that it's what those conspiracy theorists believe, but there's a mystery there. There was a flying saucer in the astronaut landing. I don't know, man. Going back to the whole the UAP thing, and that, you know, they were trying to get more disclosure about this stuff, and then it just kind of like died down. Because that, again, is it aliens? I don't know. Based on what we know, aliens is a pretty plausible explanation, because we literally have on both sonar, radar, and visual sensors a craft of some sort coming up out of the water and then flying around. What was that? I don't know. Aliens seems like a plausible explanation, but we really don't know. But there is a mystery there. There's an unsolved mystery there, guys. Maybe the government knows and they just don't want us to know because they think that it would be disruptive. I don't know. But I'm just saying, you can't completely disrupt the society all at once. It causes bad things. Some changes have to be gradual. And when you get some kid coming in and saying, well, we should completely change the entire basis of human families to adhere to make me feel more comfortable about my sexual proclivities, well, yeah, that sounds, you know, I'm awfully skeptical about that. Any person that's coming in and trying to like change like foundational principles of society, I think you got to be skeptical about that person. They probably don't actually understand what's going on very well. Because anybody that really truly understands these systems kind of will realize that you have to be kind of gradual about this stuff. I don't know what I was thinking about that during my morning shower. I think markets would actually sell. Oh, do you think markets would sell in a panic if aliens were confirmed? If aliens were confirmed and markets sold in a panic, I would buy the dip. I think so. What do you think? The amount of trade and scientific discoveries and economic prosperity and peace that could potentially come out of the revelation that aliens are real would be mind-boggling. I think you buy that. I think you buy that dip. Always pays to try and be optimistic about it, right? So sometimes I hate to say this, but it's the truth. Okay. Sometimes I will take on positions or opinions, not because it's what I want to believe or what I have the tendency to believe or anything, but because I have information that suggests that believing that will make you more successful or effective, right? Being optimistic tends to help you in trading, in investing, right? So I always try and at least consider the optimistic view. Where's the dip? Well, I'm saying you're sitting here and then we just heard something over the news squawk that White House confirms alien landing on White House lawn. And that's the headline that we heard. And the markets decided to sell off on that headline. I mean, if they actually did sell off on that headline, I would buy the dip. We should probably focus more on what we do here now. So here's my issue with this piece of news. Okay. So Jolt's job openings being higher, that should cause orders to sell. How many orders would sell? Will we continue to see orders selling beyond that initial wave? I'm not sure I can know. But the issue I have is that I am not interested in buying or selling it just based off of that Jolts. Like, I'm interested in buying or selling it based on what other people decide to buy or sell based off of the Jolts. But I myself, I'm not trying to use that data point to make a determination about my investments because I think the number is bullshit. I think that most of those job openings that they're putting out there aren't real. And if we just saw like a large increase in them, that's just the hiring managers just kind of like refreshing their postings on LinkedIn, but they're not like real jobs, and it's not really actually very reflective of how much demand there is for labor in the economy. I don't think that it is, nor do I think that it's really very useful in figuring out what the non-farms number is going to be. Right? So what do? I'm not sure what other people are going to do, and I don't want to do anything directly because of it. I guess that means that I have to sit here and watch it and just kind of see how it trades. See, aliens landing in a White House lawn is either a bad diplomatic call on them or just not a good thing. Nah, I think you buy. I'm telling you, you buy. So if it's alien technology, if the aliens are friendly, then that means that they're going to share all, some of their scientific knowledge with us, and we're going to have partnerships, and there's going to be good things that come from it, right? If the aliens are bad, then listen, war is always good for markets in the long run, right? There's going to be, you go and buy defense stocks. That was the play at some point during this whole Ukraine thing, wasn't it? Arbitrage trading, sell everything US. Well, one of the things that you should do is you should buy gold in that situation, because the aliens on Nibiru, they need gold to put into their atmosphere to protect their planet from cosmic radiation. And that's why they told humans to mine for gold. And when they come after the 6,000 year hiatus, which should be any day now, they're going to need the gold. So I think that you want to have gold if it's the aliens from Nibiru. Is that how you say it? Have you heard of that conspiracy theory? I don't know where people come up with this shit, but there's actually quite a popular theory online that says that there's this planet that orbits our solar system, but the orbit is like 6,000 years. And so every 6,000 years, they come close enough to Earth and visit Earth, and they seeded Earth with civilizations so that those civilizations would mine gold, and they need the gold to put into their atmosphere to protect them from cosmic radiation. So when they come back, the aliens will want to buy all of our gold, and they'll give us crazy things for our gold. So you would want to be long gold if it's the aliens from the Bureau. Where do people... I don't know. So the thing that they cite as evidence is when you look at hieroglyphs and things like that, there's many civilizations have these pictures of some sort of god coming down and gifting people with civilization, and they do so in the form of like a bag. It's like they're holding this bag. It's like a square with a loop on it, like a purse. It looks like a purse, and they say that those are the aliens from the Bureau, and that these gods that created all of these different civilizations on the Earth were actually aliens. That's the theory. It is crazy. I don't know where people go. Where do people get these theories? But you know what? Where do people get all of these theories about like queer theory and all that kind of shit? Like, humans are very creative, folks. Humans are very creative. Well, so supposedly these civilizations were much more advanced than archaeologists are telling us. That's the theory. That's the conspiracy theory part of it, is that the government actually knows that these civilizations in many respects were actually even more advanced than we are, and they don't want people to know about it because it would disrupt the world order. If people found out that the pyramid was actually a way to give people free electricity across the entire planet, then you wouldn't be able to charge for energy anymore, and that would destroy the economy. Right? This is some predator screen. It really is. Oh my gosh. Have you guys seen this movie Moonfall? Oh my gosh, that show. So in the movie Moonfall, the moon is actually a giant spacecraft harboring a white dwarf inside of it. And our species actually came from somewhere else in the galaxy and was chased around by some sort of artificial intelligence that they created. And they created the moon to take us to a new part of the galaxy that it couldn't find us in, and then kind of protect us. And when the alien intelligence like comes in or like awakens or whatever, the moon like wakes up, but it gets screwed up, so it gets too close to the Earth. And so then the moon is like creating all these strange gravitational effects, but like they clearly didn't talk to a physicist, because like everything that they show in the movie is like, no, that's not how it would work. That's not what would happen at all. Like if the moon got that close to the Earth, it would just they would just rip it apart. But you know what? It actually was kind of a fun movie. As dumb as it was. It's just like, what was that other one? What was that one with Chris? You remember the one with Chris Pratt? That everybody was like, the interviewers panned it, and everyone was like, no, they're just doing that because it's Chris Pratt and he's Christian. And like, I watched it, you know, I actually really did enjoy the movie, but the plot was kind of stupid. The plot had like a really, it was the Tomorrow War. That's what it was. Something like that. Tomorrow War. They had like a really good concept, but they kind of screwed it up. But it was still a good show. I thought it was still a good show. Yeah, because the issue that I had is, okay, so they find out that these aliens like crash landed in some ship, and that you know, somebody went to the ship and opened it up, and that's what brought the aliens out of hibernation, and then they started taking over the planet. So what do? They go back in time and they find where the spaceship is, and they decide to go and take the spaceship out themselves. They don't try and call the military or talk to anybody or get more help and make sure that it's done correctly. No, it's just like, oh, we'll just go in there with guns ourselves. What? Oh, so dumb. But I still enjoyed it. It was a dumb movie, but I enjoyed it. It's actually kind of one of the disappointing things to me about cinema lately is that the only movies that I've really enjoyed have been stupid ones. It's been a while since there was a movie that was like, there was a smart movie and it was just really well done and all this sort of stuff. No. It's like, it's either this complete trash where Disney puts out whatever it is that they can possibly come up with that they think is going to make money, but it's not actually a good film. Or it's like these really great ideas that are just executed so poorly that... Hey Walter, how are you going? I was reading at midnight. I don't know. I thought that I would be really tired today because I didn't get to bed as early as I want. You know, I'd prefer to get in bed at like 9:30, but I think I didn't fall asleep until like 11. And then, like I said, I woke up early. And I thought, oh, this person is lying. Oh, And then I couldn't go back to sleep. And then the toddler came in and he couldn't sleep either. Do you think consumer confidence index is a good indicator of future retail sales? Consumer confidence is a good leading indicator about how consumer demand will be, yes. Key word in that sentence is leading indicator, which means what? It's going to give you the first signs of something happening, but it's also going to give you a lot of false signals. So, okay, what is site reliability engineering and what skills are needed? Okay, so site reliability engineering is essentially keeping the site reliable. I know, super crazy, right? But so that means that, for instance, where I work, we have a Medicare website, right? So the job of the site reliability engineers is to ensure that that website stays up and running, that those services stay up and running. Okay. So what that involves in the modern day is managing a lot of resources that are running in the cloud. So that means creating pipelines that will actually stand up the resources that you create in the cloud, and having automated processes that can ring up and bring them down really quickly, so that if there is a problem, you have a very resilient system that you can fix the problem very quickly and nobody notices the service disruption, right? What skills are needed is where it gets interesting, because to do site reliability engineering, you have to understand both the application and all of the infrastructure side of it. So you need somebody that is both a programmer and a network engineer / DevOps engineer. So site reliability engineering is one of the best paying areas of the industry these days, because it's very difficult to find people that have all of the skills necessary to do it. So, and what often happens is people like me is you get somebody that's been around in the company long enough that understands all of the systems and knows enough about the networking stuff to that they just kind of get shoehorned into the role. and then you end up becoming the site reliability engineer. Yeah. Time to start learning. Yeah. So this is one of those places where if you're young and you say, I want to be a site reliability engineer, excuse me, voice cracking there, and you go and you start doing all of the education for it and you get like certifications and stuff like that, you will almost certainly get a job. Because like I said, most of the people that get into site reliability engineering, it kind of happens by accident. Like very few people actually sit down and say, I want to be a site reliability engineer and do it. No, it's they were the only option available. They were the only one that knew enough, right? And that's what happened with us is my team was doing QA engineering first. And then they said, oh, well, we need site reliability engineering, and you know all of the stuff that is related to that. So then we started doing that. And now I know enough about all of these different kinds of systems and stuff that I could go and do it somewhere else. Okay, so I was hearing a few clicks, but it kind of looks to me like it's just oh, it was the E-mini. Yeah, okay. That was the E-mini. So the E-mini is having maybe a little bit of a reversal here. Or was it that live action was saying, like, if we pass that maybe we could go to 76? This downtrend, when you come over here and you look at the S&P 500 on a daily chart, well, obviously we're still in the top end of the range, but you're starting to get a real trend there, you know? If that continues through to the rest of the week, that could turn into a doozy. And in fact, I would say that I anticipate that they will continue to sell through the summer. Like by October, I think that we'll be at 3,900, if not all the way down here at 36 and below. Is PPI producer price index? I don't think that one is considered a leading indicator, but no, I don't think that it forecasts inflation. PPI, what you're getting in PPI is essentially stuff that already happened, right? It's based on transactions that were already made. So I wouldn't call it a leading indicator. A leading indicator would be for like inflation, would be like money supply, for instance, right? Change in M2. That would be something that you can use to try and predict inflation. What the hell is going on? Well, what is going on in live action is that I am ADHD and have a variety of interests, and will hijack the stream to talk about the things in society that are going on that I'm interested in, that might not be directly related to trading, but can kind of help you in trading because they help you understand systems and the world and things like that. And then we have Uzi, who is very ultra conservative. Who eggs me on. That's the Where can I see money supply? I think that one is on Fred, right? M2 Fred. And there you go. There's money supply. And I think, I don't know, do they do it every, how often does that get reported? Every week? Yeah. Gets reported every week on Monday. And what do we see? Oh, money supply is going down. CCI equals cucumber confidence and... Oh, I didn't see that he could concumber. You know, he didn't even call it cucumber. He called it... He called it concumber. So is that like a coomer that has been successful in his goals? Is that what that means? You know what? We should probably walk away from that one. I'm just walking away from that one. We're pretending that didn't happen. Okay, so I think this is going to be kind of funny. Do you think that they will completely retrace the jolts? I think it was wise of me to not get involved. I don't know what trade I would have made, but I think either way, I probably would have lost some money on it. So... And again, like, I really do not trust that Jolts number. I really do not trust that Jolts number. The other thing is the reason that we got on that subject was because Uzi was saying, I was relating in a situation that I'm encountering right now. And Uzi was saying that it's because, you know, middle-class white people don't have enough drama in their lives, and so they invent it. And I think he might be right. I think that might be what's going on. I at the moment, I think this girl is lying, and I think that she lies because her life is too easy. Because if you have a car like that, I've never seen a car. Let's look at what kind of car was that. What kind of car was that? Nissan. I haven't looked at Nissan cars in a long time. I kind of thought that Nissans are kind of like declined in reputation. Am I wrong? It wasn't like that. Maybe it was that car though. It was kind of like a crossover sort of a car. Oh, it could have been any of these. I don't know which one it actually... Oh, crossovers and SUVs. Electric vehicles, cars. Sports cars. GTR. Dude, I think the GTR is such a sick looking car, man. Nope, never heard of Michael Bork. You know what? I feel like I don't know anybody these days. I used to think, oh, you know, I keep track of what's going on in the industry and you know, I watch the other streamers and things like that. But now I realize that it was really like Matt, because lots of people were watching him and would ask me about him. And I don't really, I ignore most other influencers. And you know, when somebody else is taking off on YouTube, I have no clue about it. And I realized that really Seth just likes to trade and wants to do his own thing. Once my American cousin came here to my country and she started screaming, and well, how old were they? Because if I see a bee, it definitely gets me going, man. I don't like bees at all. And when I was a kid, I would run away from them for sure. I think it was one of these things. It was like one of these. Yeah, Matt teaches. Well, he's not. His intention isn't necessarily to teach, is it? I think that Matt's approach was always kind of the same as mine, which was I'm gonna trade live and build a community around it, and not ever gonna make performance claims or anything like that. I'm just here to trade. Which, shouldn't that be the way it should be anyways? Because again, my claim is that you should look at the empirical evidence rather than trying to look to somebody's authority to try and determine what's an effective way to trade. Right? Also, where bothers me, because this guy that came up yesterday, this Vinny guy, he's called me a scammer. Okay, well, that implies that I'm doing something fraudulent, and I have never committed any kind of fraud whatsoever. I make absolutely no claims. I only point to empirical evidence about, information to suggest how the market behaves, and that's it. But I do teach, but what do I teach? I teach what is the empirical evidence, right? And it's kind of funny because I actually end up being a little bit unique in the day trading space, because I'm the only person making talking head videos about this kind of stuff, right? Like Matt has made videos and stuff, but he uses the same setup as his streaming setup and just shows you stuff on the screen, for instance. I guess there are people that make talking head videos in the stock trading space, like Humbled Trader, I think it was, but she's not sharing the same kind of information that I am, right? She's not saying, like, here's some empirical evidence. She's more like trying to give like generic trading advice, which I guess a lot of people find interesting, but I don't find interesting, because I'm sitting here like, how could you have been trading for any period longer than 6 months and not know this stuff? But you're very sensitive to critics. Yeah. Well, but I mean, here's the thing, live action, is that this has been going on now for like 5 years. I hardly say anything about it. I'm only talking about it now because I'm preoccupied about it, because somebody came in yesterday asking me about it, and I don't know what's going on with that. That's the only reason why I'm obsessed with that, because otherwise I just ignore it, right? I mean, it's come up from time to time, but yeah. And Matt, I don't know, that's not so much, because I don't think Matt's ever talked about me. I'm not even sure if Matt really knows I exist. I'm sure he's probably heard of me, but I bet you Matt probably doesn't know a whole lot about me. That one just comes up because, I don't know, people bring him up and stuff, but you kind of maybe have noticed, though, like, it seems like over the past 6 months that I've kind of like stopped caring about that, like it was like before it was like, we want to have a successful YouTube channel. Here are the things that we can kind of do that might help make the channel successful, etc., etc. My mindset has kind of shifted to, I'm just going to do what I want to do with the channel, and if the YouTube algorithm rewards it, great, and if it doesn't, who cares? That's kind of where I've come to, because I've started to come to the conclusion that the things that would really be likely to bring you success in the YouTube algorithms are things that are incongruent with our goals and values, right? Like, I'm not going to go and spend money. This is something that some of these other influencers do. So go and spend money to buy a channel. Like, you know, somebody will build a channel up that's a gaming channel and then put it up for sale. They'll buy the channel and then turn it into one of their day trading channels. Right? I'm not going to do that. Or they'll pay these services to give them viewers and subscribers. I'm not going to do that. Those would all be things that I could probably do and become a very successful channel overnight from. My understanding is, at least. I could probably put large sums in the thumbnails of my videos, but I feel that that would be misleading advertising, because that would be suggesting to people that the average viewer would be making those profits. So I'm not going to do that. And I don't care if it would help the channel or not. You seen the AI SpongeBob channel? No. I would really like to make like an AI chatbot assistant that would talk to you guys. That would be super cool. Because the interesting thing about the AI is training the AI. So what I want to do is I want to see my chat train the AI and see what it does. I'm feeling like with this market, it does look like they're going to retrace back to the open. But I feel like for me, this really makes me want to not do anything until after non-farms. You know, I bet you there's probably a lot of people who got to be thinking that right now. I mean, it's retracing. There's still volume out there, but from here on out, I'm not so sure that's going to do anything. Another thing Raymond says, but maybe you are unaware. Well, so they was saying that, I mean, I do make teaching videos, but I don't try and teach from the perspective of, oh, I've been so successful in the past, so you should listen to me because of that. I say, no, I'm going to just show you what the empirical evidence is. And you should look at the empirical evidence. But my observation is that people in general are not very aware. Like, I think it's really weird that I'm sitting there yesterday, seeing all this stuff happen, and then talking to this girl and her telling me a couple of things that just don't really fit, and my mind doesn't come in and say this person is maybe not being truthful with us until like 5 in the morning. Like, what the heck? Isn't that weird? What's actually going on in your head? I don't think that most people understand it. I often get the direction right, but sheesh, the market doesn't make it easy if you're risk adverse. Timing is it's true. I mean, I think the call this week, I mean, it's Wednesday already, so I think that like the call for the end of the year is short S&P 500. But you remember we were talking about it? It was like, well, I think that, you know, probably you short tech, maybe even you short Nvidia. But like, I'm not going to stand in front of that train. It kind of seems like it's already on the downtrend. So maybe so basically when we were talking about it, actually was the time to place the trade. we say that now, but then maybe non-farms ends up being like completely different and changes everything, right? So hard to know. And you know, the bigger thing here is that this is not a one-way market. It's not. Especially in the treasuries, it is not a one-way market, is it? We are seeing flows come in all over the place, and it's a lot more than we've seen in the recent past, and I'm having a very difficult time trying to sort out what it all is, you know? I'm seeing way more absorption in indexes than I'm used to, for instance. There's money changing hands, but I don't know which side wins. I sure am excited to find out, though. I sure am excited. This makes me excited for non-farms. Non-farms could be a really big deal this Friday, huh? Uh-oh, Epstein pal just Staley throws Jamie Dimon under the bus, setting stage for massive legal battle. Well, that should be fun. I like Jamie. I don't know why this whole thing is coming out. It's kind of weird. NQ is way more volatile than usual at this hour, but it also has a milder drop than others in a smaller range too. Well, let's just feel it out. It might be different next week, right? Today is the last day of the month. Tomorrow we'll have the first day of the month. The day after that we'll have non-farms. Let's wait until next week and see what the flows look like then. I would expect that the flows would be pretty mild and quiet and like summer trading, where there's less liquidity and less activity overall. If we come in on Monday and I'm still seeing like lots of volume and movement and stuff like that, then I'm really got to sit back and think that, you know, there's something going on that we're missing, right? Or that some of the things that we know about are more significant than we realized. Doesn't explain their order book? I mean, I think it could potentially. You know, the biggest players are these funds and stuff that are rebalancing, right? So, and you know, there's been a large portion of the rebalancing is happening around tech, so I would expect tech to be really active. The Nvidia thing, you need to realize that Nvidia reaching a $1 trillion market cap has become a household story. So, you know, that's pretty crazy stuff. Chicago PMI unexpectedly plummets longest contraction streak since Lehman. I'm not saying that it's not unusual. I'm just saying that when you're seeing activity like that, who are the largest players most likely to be creating action like that? Well, those happen to be players that would tend to be more active at the end of the month, right? Tech has gone crazy and they have to rebalance because of it. Well, let's read about this Chicago PMI. After the unexpected resurgence in April, Chicago PMI plunged in May from 48.6 to 40.4 against expectations of 47.3. That is the 9th straight month below 50, which means in contraction. That is the longest streak of prints in contraction since the Great Financial Crisis. Under the hood, none of the underlying drivers were higher month over month. This continues a trend of soft survey data, disappointing notably. So the soft data and the leading data continues to be disappointing. Yes. The issue is that we've been seeing that for some time, and then you don't end up seeing it in, like, for instance, non-farms, right? Like, I would expect non-farms to, well, what is the expectation for non-farms? Friday, June 2nd. Non-farms employment change forecast 193 versus a previous reading of 253K. Wow. That is actually a pretty low expectation, relatively speaking. 193 would be really low. Well, it would be about what it was in some points during 2021, but yeah. So, you know, we're expecting that low number, and then maybe it comes out at 250 again. Like, that's what's been happening lately. And so you look, all of that data is bad, but then non-farms is stronger than it should be. That's the way it's been going. Is non-farms payroll fun these days? Well, I haven't really traded it heavily in a while. I would say that non-farms has confounded me for the last 5 or 6 non-farms payrolls, you know? Like, it's been a really difficult time in this market environment trying to sort out what is actually going on under the surface with the fundamentals, because a lot of this data seems to be contradictory and stuff, and a lot of this data just doesn't seem credible. Like, I don't think the JOLTS data is a credible piece of data anymore. I kind of question non-farms too. I mean, it should be better now that they've gotten out of those adjustments and stuff, but it still continues to do weird stuff. So what's really going on? I'm not sure. I think it's really perplexing to see, like, all of the PMIs continue to be negative month after month, and then and non-farms is not responding at all. It's just kind of weird to me. And then you get all of these stories when they explain the numbers, kind of showing how they're not actually real reflective of what's going on. I tend to believe them because the numbers just don't make sense. Former JP Morgan Chase executive Just Stately has thrown Jamie Dimon under the bus over the bank's relationship with Jeffrey Epstein, claiming in legal documents that he and Dimon communicated about the convicted sex offender. Dimon maintains he had no such conversations, while Stately claims he knew about Epstein's sex trafficking operation and that he regrets his relationship with Epstein. Oh, I don't know about that. I'm sure that anybody that knew Epstein probably suspected that something was amiss there, but was never going to go and, like, really figure out what was going on, you know? Stately also claims that Dimon communicated with him several times through 2012 about whether to maintain Epstein as a client. But of course, Diamond says there's no evidence any such communications occurred. The one person who claims this to be true is currently accused of horrific acts and dishonesty. And so away it goes. I really wonder, like, what is wrong with our legal system? What do we need to do to fix our legal system? Right? Doesn't seem like it's a problem that we're equipped to solve. It's again, it's one of those things where it's like, well, we can see there's a problem, and like all we can kind of do is leave things in a spot where somebody might potentially be able to do something with it in the future. Kind of sucks. Few ticks down. It does seem pinned to 11 though. 11 and a half. S&P 500 is recovering. We'll see. You know, I thought yesterday that it would make a bigger recovery than it did. So we'll see how it goes from here. But it is 8:57, so I think it is time to get going. Man, I want to put in the title, if aliens landed, I would buy. Yep, if aliens landed, I would buy the dip. If there was a dip, of course. And buy all the things, including the gold. Okay, guys. See you tomorrow. Stay excellent.